Hi everyone, welcome back to another classic Bahodivids video. I know, you've been waiting, you've been calling me, you've been letting me know. Wait, where's Bahodivids? Well, it's here. Bahodivids is back. Um, Today's video is a particularly passionate topic of mine, and that's science education. I'm a pretty big advocate for science education, but I feel like people often don't get the big picture. So I'm in third year right now, and I've spent 2 years getting a degree, working towards a degree. And sometimes I ask myself, is this degree actually useful? Like, what am I going to do with this degree? And the answer is nothing. It's useless. This piece of paper is absolutely without value. It's a $40,000-$50,000 investment for you to just say, I did a science degree. And so, what's the value in this degree? Well, you get to learn a lot of facts, and this is particularly relevant to science over something like programming or engineering, where you perhaps learn skills. In science, profs have a particular fixation on testing proteins, testing particular structures or diseases, or perhaps a certain phenotype. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure this is a poor waste of resources and intellectual ability. And the problem is that these professors, most of the time, are not actually there to teach. They're there to do research, and teaching for them is a side thing. And so, for example, I had a pharmacology exam recently, and they were testing us on single nucleotide polymorphisms. I don't know what the things are, and this is particularly important. 521 A to T or something like that. It's garbage. You're testing me on the way some DNA changes and the phenotype when I can Google that in 3 seconds. This is not a question that comes up in conversation unless this is you're expert on the field. Obviously, if you're doing research on 521 A to T, yeah, okay, sure, you should know this. There's like 3 people in the world doing that type of nonsense. Like if you say, oh, which one? It's like, Sid, oh, the 521 A to T mutations. I was like, which mutation? Oh, yeah, that one. Okay, gotcha. It's absolutely ridiculous how fixated our degrees here. And I'm a third year pathology student. And, in the last 2 years, my problem with this education is I feel like I've learned no skills. I've developed a slight surface level understanding of protein biochemistry, slight understanding of cell biology. I know that there's a membrane and there's some processes, some general understanding of physiology, nothing that I can really do anything with, nor with anything with pathology. I have zero understanding of any of the problems that occur in science, what scientists are working on. We haven't touched the paper at all since in 3 years. Um, Nothing is tested that's really thinking based. The only course that I've had something like that was first year biology, and even then, it's a lot of not even problem solving. It's just like quick thinking on your feet and extracting information. So I wouldn't even call any of that. So is this degree useful? And this comes down to the question is, to what extent is knowledge useful? And for me, the way I perceive it is, a fact is only useful if it allows you to piece together other facts to create a certain type of understanding. But science degrees don't do that. Science degrees don't give you that type of overall understanding. Courses are so isolated from each other that you can't develop a big picture. If I say I walk up to someone and says, "What's one of the biggest problems in protein biology?" They wouldn't know. If I walk to someone and says, "What are some challenges people in physiology are working on?" People wouldn't know. People don't know actually how to solve any problems in the real world. Don't get me started on research and what researchers are doing to solve problems, because I don't even know if I agree with that either. But even undergraduate degrees are so focused on shoving facts down their students, they forget that you forget facts, and that what sticks is the problem solving ability. And I'm so disappointed in our system. I think it's kind of sad how some science students like to bash on social science students as a meme, of course, but like, some people's like, oh, you're in social sciences, but social sciences has discussion. Social sciences has problem solving. Social sciences at least has essays of some sort. In science, it's so often A to B. This causes this or this. If I ask people like some fundamental questions about why DNA works or why the physiology is this way. If you ask science students why, they get nervous if they don't have an answer. It's always, oh, well, I didn't memorize this. And the thing is, in real life, all you ask is why. If I was to ask someone to start an industry project, they wouldn't be able to do it. In a science degree, you're given no way to monetize your knowledge at all. Whereas in contrast, in programming, you can literally do whatever the hell you want. You want to make an app? Go ahead. You want to join a company? Go ahead. It gives you so much freedom and power. Whereas in science, it's just a series of disappointing lectures, one after another, where, oh, I learned this protein, guys. Look at me. And I've been slightly frustrated. Perhaps my peers are also a bit frustrating because people are excited when it's like, wow, it's a memorization exam. Woo! We're memorizing, guys. Look at us. And I feel it's really frustrating for me, and especially these days. I would try to sit down and I'm like, okay, yeah, I learned this concept. Then I'm like, I have to repeat it. Like, I know how to memorize. For me, memorization isn't a problem. But I don't want to memorize, and I can't seem to force myself to memorize at this point. Especially if something seems so irrelevant. I was looking at a really cool course in MIT where it was mirroring iGEMs and all of that. I was like, why don't we have that here? And why is this only one course, whereas the rest of it is, teaching such basics at such a slow level? I haven't really been immersed in my 3 years here. I haven't been challenged appropriately. It's just cheese. It's not like this is a difficult problem. It's like, oh wow, I forgot to read this part of a question. I'm cheesed. Or oh, I forgot to memorize this fact. It's not like in science, wow, my problem solving was inaccurate. I need to think about problems differently. It's always, what did I miss in the notes, or what did I what you know what I mean? It's useless. This is what I'm trying to say. This degree is so fundamentally flawed, and people just keep rolling into it because ultimately their motivation is, a lot of people are in medicine, right? And everyone's like, well, you need this to kind of understand this medical disease, so I'm just gonna memorize. Thing is, with medicine, memorization is purposeful. You memorize what you need to know to treat and diagnose your patients. But here's my problem with medicine, and why sometimes medicine is problematic in the way it handles itself. Medical professionals are trained to treat disease, but not prevent disease. And what I mean by that is, you can't cure. Like, for example, as a doctor, you don't work on perhaps finding a cure to cancer. For a particular type of cancer, you just kind of treat a patient. If you're an orthopedic surgeon, you're gonna treat their arm. You're gonna, or their joints, or whatever it might be in their arm. And I don't know. I don't know what to say. I feel like my entire life I've been forced to memorize things. But then I look at the real world and no one's memorizing. Like, you look at some of these more successful companies in the world, and what use does knowledge have if you can't apply it? Now, I understand for these professors who have vast amounts of knowledge, it's kind of helpful to understand different things. But here's my counterpoint to that. If professors knew so much, then where's the innovation? Like, some professors are innovating, but look at where most professors are. There's not that much innovation. It's more like science in general is isolate variable A, find variable B. Oh wow, now we know how this protein works. But a couple of professors are doing some great work. I perhaps have some bias, but sometimes, like, for example, in biochemistry work, in biochemistry work, it's brilliant. Like the synthetic biology, it's quite interesting because some professors are working on changing protein structure in a certain way to make a protein more efficient for use. This is what I find particularly beautiful about science is that optimization and looking at like solutions. And one of the problems is, this ties back, my opinion, in the long term for the government and whoever is taking these degrees, you're leaving students without any skills to solve problems. Imagine if we developed a problem-solving approach for a module, like for a program. All you did is just solve biology problems back to back to back. Look, you needed information to solve a biological problem, but information isn't the end goal. Problems are the end goal, and I feel like right now it's information that's just such a big priority for people. And I don't know. This could be my last year, could be my second last year, or my infinite last year. And I just ask myself, what did I get out of this? What do I leave here with? And I just keep thinking it's a piece of paper, and this idea that these degrees are so precious is just ridiculous. Even if you find knowledge useful and you want to get knowledge, you're not going to go to school for it. The stuff you learn in your books is from the 1950s. Hell, the chemistry is the same from 1880 till now. Like, you're not mixed with scientific innovation. And even if you are, it's a certain point in the textbook where someone's like, oh, wow, look at this. No one reads that. No one looks at these things. Even I don't look at these things because it's so inconveniently situated. And professors just focused on, well, I need to get through the content. We don't have time, guys. Like, oh, and then they say, I don't have time. Okay. And so you leave with nothing. First year chemistry, first year physics. Or don't even start with life sciences physics. What a rigid algorithmic approach towards such a beautiful subject. But anyways, the idea is, is memorization all that it is? In my opinion, it isn't. Now, some of my pre-med friends might disagree with this, and I invite them to spark a debate about what's useful and what's not. In my opinion, I just look at people in a library. In the science library, and I just see them staring at their books. One person's counting. It's like, you don't want people to do this. This is like a blind recall, and I'm like, this is so people aren't gathering around whiteboards saying, guys, let's solve this problem. There's some little case competitions, but no one's these profs aren't forcing you to do that, because here's another thing of my qualm about university. A lot of these profs, when you get taught by a prof it's difficult to surpass them. Unless you want to go surpass them. Anytime you're getting taught by someone or asking someone for advice, you're getting marked by them. You are measured up to their level. And the thing is, some of these profs, you might not want to be at their level. You want to be more than their level. And, some of my peers at Harvard, their profs are the top of the top. So it's okay to be at their level or a bit below. I don't know, guys. I don't know. This is just such a grind every single day. You wake up, you go to lectures, you listen to the prof, read off his slides, and then they go on and test you about a specific point on the slides. Really? Is this all there is? Is this all you can do? I know it's laziness. I know this is ultimately, people don't have the time for these things. But again, it's quite disappointing. It's just, for me, it's pretty tough because a lot of these things I've touched upon them just reading papers. But the thing is, so I'm going to class and I'm kind of bored because I'm like, oh, I already know this. But then they don't focus on knowing ideas. They focus on knowing details. Because think about it. If everyone, if I'm a prof, right, and I want to test ideas, I can't drop the average. You need to ask questions to balance out the average. You need to ask things to differentiate students who put effort in or not. And again, it's quite sad. And all what? So the point that you do a master's, it's like, oh, you want to learn something, go to do a master's. I'm like, no, I want to learn something now. I want to get skills now. But it's just sad because if I were to show someone any paper, like if people, by third year, a lot of students my age are doing research, and I'm like, okay, sure, you understand this type of research, but if I give you, any other field, they're like, oh, what? You give someone a biostats paper, and they literally cry. They're like, what? Okay, okay, guys. I don't know if I touched this in my cell biology course. Let me just G protein coupled receptor. I'm always sad that I like questions when it's like predict the mechanism. Like if I was given a protein, predict the mechanism, or if I was given a situation and I was like, what would you want your body to do if you were this? And for me, ultimately, I think the only useful thing that you can get from biology, because biology itself, in science degrees, this is my last point. In science degrees, all you're doing is getting knowledge, right? And even the professors, their main thing is like, for example, one person is literally trying to understand how one protein subunit works for their PhD. I'm like, what? This is 5 years of your life and you're just understanding one protein subunit. Then what's the point? I think it's an important perspective to say for science and for science education and perhaps science researchers, what could this actually lend itself to in synthetic terms? When you're training students to understand why the body does what it does beforehand, it gives them predictive abilities to help them even when they forget, and to help explain to patients and to explain. There's so many reasons why science education is so flawed. I just wanted to give it a bit of a roasting because honestly, I'm just wasting my money here. I don't even know if I want like. Ultimately, if you want to study, memorize, sure, go for it. It'll get you the marks. You just need to know the concepts for most of these courses. The person who knows the most is gonna usually get the best mark. That's kind of annoying because if everyone wrote down what they knew and then compared, um, and that they were scored on what they knew, that it's correlate almost 100% to their mark. But nothing about problem solving or intuition or logic or anything that can actually make you money and create an impact in people's lives. And then these researchers are always like, well, guys, I taught the course well. Like, yeah, sure, you can explain concepts, but life isn't about understanding concepts. Remember, the ultimate goal should be problem solving. Anyways, guys, this is a pretty arsely filmed video. Low quality, ranting. This is what you get with Bahodivids. With that said, thank you so much for listening, and I wish you a good night.